Today I'm going to talk through the employee time tracking application. The application basically collects hours for call centers or departments um, for your plant level employees. And its benefit is to just replace the Excel spreadsheets that we use and we email back and forth with HR, your manager, however else you manage that. And the other benefit is that we will keep that information in one collective repository. So if we'd like some reporting over time about headcount or a person or a department, we can have it. Okay. The first thing we will do before we look at the web application is we need to confirm that your plant parameter in your user ID is set up for your default. Okay, so I'm logged in here to SAP, and with your all of your user settings are found in user profile and data. Once you go there, you go to your parameters, and if you just click here to make sure that the parameter for WRK is set to your plan. So here right now, my default plan is 54. You need this so when you access the web application, it knows what plan to pull it in. Okay. If you're accessing it for the first time, you can just email support, and I'll send you the URL for the application. It's a web application. I already have it saved to my favorites, so the first time you open it, just go ahead and save it to your favorites just like you would for anything else. Um, when you bring up the URL, it is a web application, however, it isn't access to SAP, so you'll have to use your SAP user login here. Um, the first time you log in, you may get a credentials or a certificate error. Um, Based on the browser. I use Chrome. I recommend Chrome. If you do get that warning, you just say go ahead and continue the website, and this page will come up. Now, there's three areas for this call center maintenance. We have enter employee time, which is we'll use when we're going to actually enter employees' ID to hours, to dates, into call centers. We have employee table maintenance. What employee table maintenance does is it gives you your list of all of the employees for the plant. So if I had 54 here, so it automatically only pulls in my 54 employees. If you have multiple departments recording the time, you only have to enter the employee once, and it can be shared across departments if that person happens to work across many departments. Here you'll see all the employee names. When we go into the data entry screen, you'll actually see the list of employees. This is the source. You can use this screen to add employees, hit save, or to remove employees, where you select lines or multiple lines and hit delete. Make sure you save your data anytime you make any changes to this list, and then you hit back, it'll take you back here. Now, call center maintenance is a area where we would organize our call centers to potential departments. And I'm going to go back here to give this a little bit more context. If I go into my employee maintenance field, this is where I'm going to enter my time. Before you enter your time, you need to select what department you're reporting for. Okay? The way you do that is if I go back to my call center table here, you're going to notice that those cost centers are all allocated to the prod department. So if I go in and say I'm going to enter time for prod, it knows what cost centers are in that department, and it'll pull it into that screen. So this screen helps you organize cost centers to departments. You can align it really based on how you enter your time. Here, the way I have it set up is I have a department for indirect. So if the warehouse manager wanted to put them in, I have a department here for maintenance. So if he wanted to add his, and then I added some departments here for production, and he needed to enter time, we have all the call centers allocated to it. Now, if maintenance was under indirect, or the indirect manager put in the maintenance time, if you move this department here, then this call center would show up on our data entry screen. So this is probably a setup you'll do once. Once it's done, unless you add a work center or a call center, which is rare, you could come here and add it. Okay, so I'm gonna hit save even though I didn't change anything. If I wanted to add a new line, obviously I could do it here, and a call center would come in. This pull down will represent all the call centers in your plant. You don't have to enter the call center number. You just have to purely pull it in. Enter your department and hit save. I'm going to undo that. hit save. Now, once that is done, I hit my back arrow. 99% of the time, you're just going to be coming in here and hitting enter time. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter time for production, for the shift, and for the time. For this purposes, I'm going to put in yesterday's time. I'm going to pretend like I forgot. Okay? So 4:27, and today is 4:28. So this screen comes up. The way the screen is allocated is our rows are our customer or our employees, and our columns are our cost centers. Now, the first time I do this, you'll notice that I don't have any Kaya in column 1, 2, 3, 4, and up here I have my cost centers. The cost centers that I assign to the production department are the cost centers I'll see here. That's not right. You need to go back to that previous screen and make that adjustment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my cost centers to my columns here by hitting add. Okay, so I'm adding all these. You'll notice that once I added all the ones that were allocated to the prod department, this list became empty because you can only add it once. Okay. Next, I am going to enter the employees that I want to keep track of time on. And again, these are all the people that were in my employee list. Okay. And similar to the cost centers, once I add the employee down here, if I add Kathy Allen down here, Kathy Allen comes out of the pull down. So you can't add an employee twice. So I'm just going to add a few employees here. Okay. And now I'm ready to do my time entry. So you just simply put in your hours, 10 hours for this person, 10 hours for this person, 10 hours for this person, and 10 hours for this person. Or I can simply say this person works 5 hours here and 5 hours here. Okay. And once I look at this, if I want to hit my update totals, it shows me my totals per row. So if you know every person in your department should be working 10 hours, you can look over here to make sure that the math is working out. And then up here, if you want to look at your total department hours here, you can do it there. Okay. Now I'm going to hit save. And the data is saved. And it seemed like a lot of work to do keying. But generally speaking, you should only have to do that the first time. So this is for 427. The shortcut I'm going to show you is that if I go ahead and back out of this, and I decide, okay, now I'm going to put in my production hours for 428 for my first shift. When I hit next, the same screen popped up like it did before. Now, because I've entered time in yesterday, I can hit this little button here that says copy last day's business time. And it's going to go back and look at the last time and it's identified by department and shift, you put in time, and it's going to copy it all back over. And the usefulness for this is it saves all that adjustments we had to do the first time. So if you have a static list of employees, you can copy the days over, and then you only have to make your adjustments. So if Terry worked here today, but she didn't work the day before, you can add her. The other shortcut to keep in mind is that if we have no hours here for Terry, but you want to keep her on your roster, say she was out sick, we can put in sick. And when we hit save, because there's no time here, it's also going to keep Terry's line active. The usefulness for that is now when you send the report to HR, they're going to know, well, the fact that this person doesn't have any time means that it wasn't a keying mistake, that they're actually sick. The other value is tomorrow when you go put in the time and you hit copy, Terry's going to copy in. You can just take out the sick and put in her hours, and we're back and running. So for the departments where your employee lists are fairly static, outside of your first day of setting it up, you'll just simply have to come in, hit your copy business date, copy your last business day, all the data will pull in. You'll update the hours, and you hit save. Once you're ready to save, you can go ahead and hit print. We have a default printer set up for each plant, and they're generally pointed to the HR office. We'll hit print, and that'll simply print the application. I don't have my printer set up, that's why I got that error, but the application will print the form to the employee HR department, and it'll have a date and time symbol. If you ended up doing another version or you had to make an adjustment, HR will know which one's the latest and greatest because the date and time of printing will show up. Okay, so I'm back here on my prod. I realized that, hey, I needed to make an adjustment. This person really is working half a day here, or maybe they even changed after you submitted the time because of different demands on the floor. You can go ahead and hit save here, you hit print, and the form will print out in the office. So electronically, you have the ability back on this screen that if you want to look at a few days in the past, you can look and bring it up here um, to see what you did or you didn't do. Now, once that's all said and done, if I'm a manager or if I'm looking for some sort of report over time, we have an SAP query that we can use to access the data. So in our query time here, you'll see a report called employee time in our PP group. And if I was to execute that, I'm just going to put the plan in there. You could put the date. You're going to see each of these entries for each employee. Now, for an employee who is entered in multiple cost centers, they'll have multiple lines. But what you can simply do is sum this report and then subtotal it by either department name, an employee, and it'll break it out for you to say if you want to see it by department, you can. If you want to see it by employee, here you can. These are 2 dates, but if you have one that has multiple call centers, it'll also break it out that way. If you have any questions, feel free to contact support at support.pcf.net.